Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be working on our truck some more. We're going to be working on the frame, getting it painted, getting it cleaned, and then painted, I guess, in that order, as well as removing some other parts to help us facilitate that, so stay tuned. And now we got wind. All right, guys, so this is the truck, kind of where we left it last time. So the only real thing I've done in here is clean up this frame a little bit. Took a good couple days of scrubbing all the grease that was here off. But yeah, now it's kind of, for the most part, pretty clean. It's got some surface rust on it, which we'll take care of. But before we touch any of that, we need to get rid of this fender, because A, it's destroyed, but B, we need to paint in here as well. So all that needs to get some paint. Need to remove our shock tower, this fender. But yeah, and then we can move on to the frame. So let's get that out of the way. All right, everything's disconnected. These won't come all the way out yet because they're hitting the fender liner down there because it's all smashed. So they're loose, but we'll pull them off with the fender. There's a plug for this, that gray plug down there has to get unplugged. And then these two get unplugged. And then I removed it from the fender liner itself. And then this has to get unplugged, which just routes over here. And that should be it. Should be able to come off now, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Well, there's the fender removed. Just got the frame exposed now. So it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be to get off. It just comes off as one gigantic mess. So, but now we can get rid of this fender, clean up some of this stuff in here before we put it back together. And I guess next we're going to take this shock tower off. Yeah, then we'll be ready to clean some things up. I might take this off and paint it as well, because it does not look nice. Yeah, so I'll take that off next and see where we go from there. Alright, so now we got everything out of the way. The hood's off, the fenders are off. We got our shock towers off. So now that's all left to do is do some final cleaning of some junk that's everywhere. And then we can get to priming this thing. So yeah, let's get to that real quick. To achieve this result, all I used was some of this concrete metal prep, cut about 50-50 in this bottle. And you can see how well it works. You just spray a little bit on here, and then, yeah. It kind of just gets rid of all surface rust for the most part. yeah, it takes a couple minutes, but it all just goes away. So that's what I used on here. And then I think we're about ready to prime, honestly. So yeah, I'll give it another coat of this and make sure I get all the rust spots off, and then I think we'll be ready to prime. So now I got some things masked off that we don't want painted, like these transcooler lines, arcular lines, some wires, things like that. It's time to use some self-etching primer on all this bare metal. So this is our first coat of etch primer, all laid down. Seemed pretty nice. We'll let this dry for a bit and then we will apply one more coat. Well, it's the next day and this is what our frame is looking like with 2 coats of etch primer on there, or self-etching primer. So I think we're ready for some paint. I went and taped off these dust shields. Not really worried about our tie rods because they need to be replaced anyway. You see these bushings are pretty bad, so not super worried about that. I don't plan on painting this side yet. When I replace the rotors, then I'll paint this. But yeah, just getting a coat of paint on everything else should be relatively beneficial. This is the sprayer we're going to be using because I currently do not have an air compressor and we're always on a shoestring budget around here, so this is what we're going to be using. It should work for the application. I already tried it on a fender and it seemed to be okay, so we're gonna send it with this and see what happens. With that, let's mix up some paint. So the paint I've chosen is this Rust-Oleum oil-based paint, and we got some semi-gloss. I've seen a lot of good results with this, with a catalyst as well. So we'll cut this probably 4 parts, 3 parts, 1 part, and then see how that turns out. It should be strong enough for the application here. So yeah, let's get mixing some paint. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is use these brushes to get into some of these really hard to reach areas. So make sure we got some decent coverage in there. So yeah, let's do that. I think we're ready to spray. So we got all of our corners and kind of hard to reach areas. And yeah, I think we're ready to spray some paint now. Well, here's the axle all finished, or axle. Here's the frame finished being painted. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. There's some spots I couldn't really get too well with that gun, like underneath the axle. I got it a little bit, but like under these, it's a little not so coated, but that I could fix if I ever rebuild this. If I was gonna do this again, I would 100% pull the axle out, because it was really hard to get in like those little areas behind this cross member. But for what it is and minimal work, it's not too bad. It looks really good. I think it's gonna flatten out a little more. I did a test piece here. This piece is, yeah, not as shiny as that. So I think it's gonna flatten a little more than it is because that looks really glossy, but it's also in the sun. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty good for what it is. So hopefully it'll hold up like I hope it'll hold up. Well guys, that's all I have for this video. Like I said, if I was gonna do this again, I'd probably pull that axle and do the axle hole separately, give it better coverage to start with. There's places you just can't get, like where the U-bolts are and the leaf springs are and stuff like that. And then underneath it as well, I don't have a real paint gun. Hopefully that'll change soon, but at the moment I have to use what I have. But yeah, I think it's gonna turn out well. If it doesn't, then oh well, at least it has paint on it now. It did not have paint before, so it's better now than it was before. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.